Definitely a little bit humbling to go 30 minutes and cover all the topics you want. Feel like you did a great job providing a little bit about me and what I do. Uh, but we'll just start over. So I'm the H1B guy, and I wanted to do a H1B guy live stream here and talk about why I'm qualified, talk about all things H1B, as well as immigration benefits. I mean, I think those are things that are important for us to talk about. Um, so I possess a unique perspective with some very diverse experience that combines 16 years of IT agency staffing and 5 years of dedicated immigration resource management. I have an extensive understanding of third party corp to core best practices. And throughout my career, I've built and delivered new programs and initiatives for both small and large corporate organizations. So that gives me a very unique perspective, again, as it relates to work authorization and third party. I am not an immigration attorney, nor do I provide legal paid advice. I am a work authorization and third party process expert, self proclaimed or otherwise. So, any views that are shared on the H1BGuy.com and on the H1B Guy channel are of my own accord and are non legal. All right. I wanted to just thank you for the outpouring of support that I've experienced in the first month since launching the H1B Guy on June 29th. It really has been amazing. So thank you to Ruben, Bowden, Gunnels, PJ, and really all my former colleagues who've taken the time to like and share my content, and to everyone else who's opened a door or offered me encouragement. I just can't thank you enough. As I hope that it's very clear to you, I love helping individuals and organizations solve complex problems. So, how can I help you? Well, the H1B Guy Live is going to be an ongoing series where we're going to cover popular topics that were addressed on the H1BGuy.com and on this channel over the last month. The first of which is H1B status issues. So there was a post on the H1BGuy.com on July 7th and a YouTube video on July 8th that covered Is My H1B in Status? This post discussed the 60-day pay stub as being the primary indicator of if you're in status or not, right? We've talked about it. You have to provide a W-2 pay stub that validates and verifies that you were paid within the last 60 days in order to be considered in status. If you go out and look across social media channels and professional, networking sites, there are a lot of posts out there from H-1B visa holders that are currently looking for work and worried about maintaining their status. We've talked about this, sort of the undocumented, unemployed number of H-1B individuals currently here working in the U.S. Most are even posting countdowns and the days that they have remaining before they're out of status. Talk about a sense of urgency, willing to put that information out there. Those are individuals who are looking to work and maintain status in the U.S. I'm curious if any of you out there watching are hesitant about filing your next H-1B extension or amendment. I know if I were in your situation and I didn't have the appropriate pay stubs or the appropriate evidence, based on the way USCIS is processing visas right now, I would definitely be very hesitant. Another topic that I wanted to talk about today is the H1B Reform and the series that I've started over the last 2 Fridays, if you will, or the last 3 weeks, every other Friday, will be a post titled Reform It Friday. And on the H1BGuy.com and on the H1B Guy YouTube channel, there was a post on July 3rd where we called for the temporary suspension of the 60-day W-2 pay stub requirement as part of the I-129 filing for H-1B transfers, amendments, extensions, really for any H-1B beneficiary currently working in the U.S. This goes back to the Reform at Friday, where we're looking to suspend, right, that because of H-1B status, as just previously mentioned. Um, in a post on July 17th on the H1BGuy.com and mentioned on the H1B Guy YouTube channel as part of the H1B Guy News, where we call for USCIS to begin accepting electronic filings for immigration benefits, including H-1B visas. So what we're looking for here is for USCIS to create a portal that provides access to all forms of electronically, provide options for uploading and storing evidence. Okay, USCIS proved at the beginning of the year that they have the capabilities to accept electronic filings for immigration benefits when they were accepting HCAP submissions for the fiscal year of 2021 electronically. This is only going to provide for better communication, better process, and better organization, not only for the petitioner and for the beneficiary, but for USCIS. Okay, we're talking about better data collection on each individual case. All right. Do any of you have any thoughts on recommendations for H-1B reform or immigration reform? Do you have any other reform ideas that you would like to see me discuss or address? If you do, please leave me a comment or drop me a line on the H1BGuy.com. Would really appreciate that. Another thing that I wanted to cover today that was listed in the topics is the H1B lawsuit that was filed last week, as first covered on Forbes in an article written by Stuart Anderson, and it was titled "Major Lawsuit Filed to Save Families from the H-1B Visa Ban." Okay, so a new lawsuit hopes to save H-1B visa holders and their spouses and children who the Trump administration will not grant visas or allow to enter the United States. It was filed on the behalf of 179 Indian nationals, including 7 minor children. The legal action, the first to challenge the recent presidential proclamation, asks a court to compel the State Department to issue decisions on plaintiffs' pending requests for H-1B and H-4 visas, to enjoin the Department of Homeland Security for refusing entry to the United States, and to declare the unlawful proclamation's restriction on issuing new H-1B and H-4 visas or admitting new H-1B or H-4 visas. So really, it's twofold, right? We're talking about H-1B and H-4B visas that are currently located outside of the U.S. that are looking to go through consular processing, get approval, and enter. We're also talking about new H-1s that were issued in the fiscal year lottery for 2021 that have not received their stamping, have not gone through consular processing, as well as their dependents who can't enter. So any H-4s that are currently outside of the U.S. whose spouses may be in the U.S., we've seen some exclusions that are going to be permitted, going back to really this country's foundation on family-based immigration. While H-4s are non-immigrant dependents, restricting families and separating families is not something that we've historically seen in our immigration practice. As a country since really our foundation. Another thing that I wanted to note here, and which I think is really interesting, is that the consulates aren't open. So as we begin to see them open, I'm really curious to see how the cases will be processed and approved. So, more on that at a future time. Another topic that really has been in the news a lot has been the protests and opinion around S-386. I'm curious if any of you out there caught any of the S-386 protests from this past weekend. I'll tell you, I didn't see very much news coverage on it. I did see some social media coverage from a lot of the independent outlets and sources that are out there, but I didn't really see the mainstream media pick it up. I want to talk about what is Senate Bill 386. Well, there are a lot of several different pieces of the legislation and provisions that are included in Senate Bill S 386. But for me, the biggest takeaway is the elimination of the green card backlog. Did anyone catch yesterday the Senate debate between Senator Dick Durbin and Senator Mike Lee? Senator Durbin from Illinois has found himself front and center on the S 386 debate. During his speech and conversations yesterday, he seems really to be caught up on S 386 and the changing around the limit to the number of green cards that are issued for each fiscal year. Senator Durbin is also claiming that the H1B provision to the bill is the real problem. He claims that the issue lies within the 50-50 rule. So for those who aren't aware, the 50-50 rule basically states that the 50-50 rule is for companies with 50 employees or less, or excuse me, or more, 50 employees or more, who have less than 50%, or excuse me, 50 employees or more who have a 50% or higher H1B employee population cannot hire new H1B visas until the ratio is below 50%. As you can imagine, 50, right? 50 employees, 50% H1B population or higher. So, as you can imagine, this has a significant impact on the large Indian integrators out there. Senator Durbin specifically mentioned Tata and targeting the outsourcing of these large Indian integrators and claims that 3 years cannot pass before they're impacted. Some of the large integrators out there also include Emphasis, Cognizant, Centel, right? These are individuals that utilize organizations that use a very large H1B population as well as a large L1 population. So what does this all really center around in S 386 outside of the green card backlog? Well, it comes back to this term that we've heard a lot, and that's the displacement of American workers. This is really the heart of the debate, okay? So here is where I am going to share with you a very dirty little unkept secret. And if you're in staffing or if you're a hiring manager who's looked to fill some very technical roles, then you will definitely relate to this information that I'm about to share. And that is, if you're looking to hire a software engineer, a software architect, a DevOps engineer, a technical ERP resource, configuration, development, big data, cloud, or any other sort of niche specialized coder, developer, programmer, well, guess what? That candidate pool tends to be very heavy in the foreign national realm, right? You may find a US citizen, while it's rare, they are out there. You may even find a green card holder. While it's rare, they're out there, but understand that a lot of green card holders that have come on employment-based permanent residency have generally come up through the H1 or the L1 ranks. So it comes back to how critical the H1B pipeline is filling the void in these highly technical specialized skills. In an article that we mentioned last Friday from the Houston Chronicle, where Texas talks about needing work visas to grow their economy, the article references that for every H1B visa employee, it creates 1.6 new jobs. Okay? Think about that. For every H1B employee that an employer hires, it creates 1.6 new jobs here in the US. Accept that fact or not, it is the cold, hard truth. By the way, I did want to mention I do like Senator Lee. He is an attorney and really a libertarian leaning Republican if you look at sort of his voting track record. And as he mentioned in the debate yesterday, he's been in the Senate for 9 years and he has spent all 9 years working very closely on immigration reform. It's a topic that he is very passionate about. I wanted to also take a quick look at the August Visa Bulletin for final action dates for employment based preference cases for EB1, EB2, and EB3. EB1 is sort of the highest category. We're talking about PhD, management, executive type resources. EB2 and EB3 really are the categories that we're going to focus on the most. Most categories, and you'll hear this term chargeability. What's that mean? Chargeability. Chargeability is actually the country of origin, okay? And for most countries, final action is current, meaning that once the adjustment of status is filed, green card process begins, okay? But for EB2 and EB3 based, the two that we're going to focus on are going to be Indian nationals, individuals that have come from the country of India, as well as Chinese nationals, so individuals that have come from mainland China, okay? An EB2 category, if you are born in India and you have a priority date in EB2 classification, your final action date is July 8th of 2009. So let's unpack that for a second. We're talking about 11 years and 14 days, okay, for EB2, which is the most popular employment-based category filing. No wonder the green card backlog is at the front of the debate. And then for EB3 for India, it is October 1st of 2009. So really only a few months in advance. So there's not a lot of separation between EB2 and EB3 for Indian nationals. For Chinese nationals, for EB2, we see January 15th of 2016. And then the EB3 is February 15th of 2017. So EB2, about 4.5 years for Chinese nationals. And then in the EB3 category, we're looking at about 3 years and roughly 6 months. Why are these important? Well, just imagine that you had your perm labor certified 11 years ago and you're still waiting for your adjustment of status. So more on that. We'll keep up with the visa bulletins. We'll talk about that here on the H1B Guy more on a monthly basis as those bulletins come out, because it is definitely something at the front and center of the green card backlog debate. Another topic that I wanted to talk about is been very, very front and center in the news, and that is USCIS being bankrupt. As mentioned, they are requesting a $1.2 billion bailout. A bill which is to be introduced by Representatives Emanuel Cleaver of Missouri and Jeff Fortenberry of Nebraska would allocate up to $1.2 billion in emergency funding for USCIS, a largely self-funded agency that's seen significant losses in revenue amid COVID-19 pandemic and resulting in restrictions on immigration. As alluded to on the H1B Guy YouTube channel and on the H1BGuy.com, USCIS has a fee-based model where they are funded through fees collected on citizenship and visa applications. As mentioned, they're expected to furlough as many as 13,400 employees from across the U.S. as of August 3rd due to a 60% shortfall in revenue by September, with furloughs accounting for almost 2/3 of the agency's staff. In a letter dated on July 21st, 2020, Senator Patrick Leahy from Vermont and co-signed by Senator John Tester from Montana Senator Leahy called for the postponement of plans to furlough nearly two-thirds of USCIS's staff, saying that the cuts would crush the morale of the workforce and put an untold number of families into unnecessary financial distress. USCIS is a processing center in Vermont. It's one of the most popular used specifically for East Coast petitions filed that employs about 1,700 USCIS personnel. Senator Leahy went on to state it's not just these employees and their families that will be impacted by the decision to furlough them, but thousands of U.S. citizens, employers, and students who rely on USCIS work, including members of the military. So think about that. The hundreds and thousands of cases that are filed on a weekly basis, monthly basis. If there are 60% reductions in the workforce, think about the backlog that's going to create in processing and adjudicating immigration benefits. It's really just crazy. It's really, mind-boggling to imagine that is a possibility, considering the fee-based model that USCIS is built on. If they're claiming that because the cases that are being filed have been diminished and that's creating the issue, I have to question that. We're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of cases that have been filed over the last several years that accompany a $750 or higher filing fee for each case. Add to that the premium processing fees that have been collected over the years that are allowed to be filed on certain individual cases. I believe that's about $1,225 in cost. I find it hard to believe that they're bankrupt. So I have to question, where's the budget gone, right? So again, as I've alluded to, I really just love to help organizations and people solve complex problems. I am not an immigration attorney. There are several different immigration attorney channels on YouTube that you can check out and follow, and they're going to give you a totally different perspective. Why am I unique? I'm unique because my experience is in staffing and employment, and I understand how to onboard work authorization and third parties, right? So my point of view is always going to come from that perspective, okay? So if you have any questions about what I do and how I can help your organization or help you if you're an H-1B with here in the U.S. with a very interesting or uncertain case, I'd love to hear from you. If I can help your organization with work authorization or third-party process consulting, please reach out to me on the H1BGuy.com or email me at the H1BGuy@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd also love to hear if you have any content that you'd like to see me cover. I know everyone's interested in the news. I know everyone's interested in USCIS. But is there any process or any individual forms that or issues that maybe have come up that you would like to see the H1B guy talk about? I'd love to get that information out to you. If you're watching this live, I just can't thank you enough. The outpouring of support that I've received from my colleagues, former colleagues, from individuals who I've known for several years. Thank you, thank you. If you're watching this video in replay, please give it a like. Please subscribe to the H1B guy if you like what I'm trying to do here. And also, if you don't mind, please go read my posts on the H1BGuy.com. I really hope you've enjoyed today's live stream. Apologies with the audio earlier. I got it resolved. Definitely frustrating, but I've overcome it. We've got this stream out. I hope that it has provided value to you. I hope that you've gotten something from it. And please know that if I can help you, I am here for you. Again, thank you to everyone who's taken the time to watch this video live or in replay. If you can give me a like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. The H1B Guy, your global source for all things H1B.